Welcome to Extremely Valid Points.
We are three business owners and friends who enjoy practical, real-life discussions about business, marketing, and creativity.
Your hosts are Nathan and Jenny Sala, the owners of World Light Media, a digital marketing agency focused on helping organizations grow through online leads.
And Dave Wilkins, the owner of Ellipsis Production Co., a video production company that specializes in creating meaningful content for businesses and nonprofits.
We hope you enjoy today's episode. And along the way, we just might happen to make some extremely valid points. Welcome back, everybody. This is season 2. We are so excited about the new season that we have coming up for you. And you guys, this is going to be the best season yet. I'm so excited. You guys are going to be excited too. Let's talk a little bit about what we have coming up in season 2. So, first of all, here's what we've been up to.
We've been learning from our experience in our first season of podcasting. We've learned a lot. We've done a lot of reflecting. What's working? What's not? What did we like about last season? What wasn't so great? And we just kind of want to build off of the good and hopefully improve this podcast for you and for our own personal betterment as professionals.
Yeah, I think one of the things that was interesting is that, for any venture that you start on, you kind of have to just decide to do it and go for it, right? And you're going to make some mistakes. You're going to make some things that you're going to want to adjust along the way. But if you're going to wait till everything's perfect, you're never going to get anything done, right? So
Right.
That's true.
I think it's been really interesting to see how not only the things we've learned just in podcasting for podcasting's sake, but also how we've been able to kind of fold it into the things we're already doing and have it be a real natural extension of our businesses.
Right. That's a great segue, Dave. We have built this lovely studio where we podcast video and audio. And in our little off season, we had a client come in and hire us to podcast for them. And we've been talking and we've been realizing we can help other people do this. We actually just watched some really great seminars at the HubSpot's Inbound conference that's all about podcasting and how video podcasting especially is the newest, fastest growing, most popular, most consumed form of content on the internet right now.
Wow.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's one of the things that blew me away is how, we kind of started this and we started doing it and we chose to do video because you're so gifted at that, Dave. Mm-hmm. But it seems like podcasting's been out for, 20 plus years or so. Mm-hmm. And while our podcast was starting, the whole world of podcasting seems to just exploded, and suddenly everybody's doing podcasting. And then we see in this conference that they're saying, you need to do video podcasting. You have to do a video podcast, which shouldn't it be called something else besides video podcast? I don't know. But
yeah, I think we were struggling to, keep our terminology relevant. But in fact, we were just talking about that, the whole idea of podcasting, started with the iPod, which no one really uses anymore. But, everyone knows now what podcasts are. But then video podcasting, sometimes it's, trying to explain or figure out what that is. It's a little challenging. But all in all, people are familiar with consuming video content. They're familiar with podcasts now. So, yeah, it's just exploding.
yeah.
Yeah, and some of the reasons why video podcasting is so great as opposed to regular audio podcasting is because now search engines are learning how to index video. And so your actual content that's in your video gets indexed by search engines and they know what you're talking about, and people searching for these topics that you're talking about. More and more, Google is serving up videos to people based on their search terms. I'm seeing it all the time in things that I'm searching for. And it's pretty cool how they'll even splice right to a specific part of the video where your question is being answered. So video podcasting you have a lot more opportunities to get in front of people and be found on the internet if you're one of the people talking about the things people are Googling.
Mm-hmm. It's exciting. Okay, so let's talk about why this season is going to be so good. You're going to want to devour every single episode we create. First of all, we heard you. We got so much great feedback last season. Some of the things that people liked the most about season one, the guests. People really loved having the guests on our podcast. So this season 2, we are having more guests, and that was good. Another thing that we got really great feedback was on some of the series that we did. So this season, we're going to do even more series. We got especially a lot of great feedback about our Bad Bosses series. So if you haven't checked that out, go check that out. Really, that was a fun 2-parter. And then we did some other series on sales funnel and marketing. And
Branding was a really popular series that we did last season, which if you didn't hear it, go check it out because it was a popular one and we got a lot of good feedback on that.
Yeah. And so we're also going to talk a lot about podcast marketing because that is what we are talking about today. That's the title of our season 1 opener. It is the podcast about podcasts. And we just wanted to talk a little bit about why we think that this podcasting phenomenon is happening like 20 years after it started. All of a sudden now everybody's getting a podcast. And if you don't have a podcast, you need to get one. And why it's so important about specifically video podcast marketing, because this is the fastest growing form of marketing that we have ever seen. And we've been in this industry a long time. But for some reason, this form of marketing is growing way faster than, say social media or Google Ads or these other forms of marketing. It seems like everybody is like scrambling to get their video podcast in order because of a lot of great reasons, which we'll touch on today.
Yeah. Just to add to what Nathan said, the video podcasting is growing faster than social media, than blogging, than all these other forms of content consumption. And it isn't necessarily that it's like more popular than social media, but that social media has grown to the point where it's going to grow and now it's kind of leveled out. The amount of people who are on social media is pretty much maxed out. Like as many people that exist in the world are on social media. So it's not going to grow anymore.
Yeah.
So, I mean, video podcasting is like, think of it as like the next big opportunity to be found and to be seen with people, with consumers and in front of your audience that you're looking to get in front of.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a correlation there because it's true, as you said, social media engagement rates are plummeting. Really, like the effectiveness of marketing on social media is dropping, and there's for a lot of reasons. Facebook is literally a dumpster fire these days. Everybody in Silicon Valley is microdosing LSD, which is just leading to a phenomenon of horrible decisions being made, and that's why everybody's so frustrated using Google and Facebook and any Silicon Valley related product or service.
So I'm going to just jump in there and from a legal perspective say maybe not everybody is microdosing on LSD, but there are some really interesting articles about this microdosing LSD phenomenon that's happening. We'll put a link in the show notes if you want to learn more about that. To get the most accurate information. But yes, it is happening.
We should mention our sponsor, LSD.
That's right.
This is so much more entertaining if you are on LSD. The only microdose.
Oh, no. Hey there. If you've ever listened to Extremely Valid Points podcast and thought, if Nathan, Jenny, and Dave could do this, I totally could too, then we say you're right. We've got some free tips available on our website. Head over to extremelyvalidpoints.com and download our free guide to start your podcast. We're happy to help.
Spill my coffee.
Oh,
see what happens
no.
when you talk about our sponsor.
Yeah, but I do think it's interesting that, we're at a interesting point with social media. It's obviously still an effective thing and a mass, everyone's on it. But I do think that the rate of technology is, the trends are happening so fast that in a relatively short period of time, people are now starting to get, leery of social media. Where, we see all the Facebook trials and the things of, how it's affecting us socially, how it's affecting our kids, all those types of things. So I do think that people are looking for other, alternative means of, communication, getting your story out, getting your message out. And, the great thing about podcasting is that you control the narrative, you control the platform probably a little bit to a higher degree than some of these other algorithms, right?
Absolutely.
It's true.
So, yeah.
Yeah, because if you put content on Facebook, it's, there's a large chance that nobody will ever see it just
Right.
because of the way their algorithm is structured. Even if you boost it, there's still a lot of variables and factors that, somebody might not ever see that. But if somebody subscribes to your video podcast, then there's a really good chance that they can consume the content that they want to see and they'll see what you want to say. So that's a really good point. Extremely valid point.
Oh, thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about some more reasons why video podcast marketing is going to be all the rage in the year 2021 and 2022, and why people might want to jump on this train. You already mentioned the SEO benefits. That is a huge point, cannot be understated. All of the algorithms are favoring video, especially Google and YouTube, of course, which is a video platform. It's also the number 2 search engine. So
Wow.
there's some tricks that you can do with the Google algorithm to get your video seen more. Another reason that video is so important is because the engagement is driven through the roof. When you watch a video, like if people are watching us right now, they are thinking, and I know you can either agree with this or not, but you know us, you like us, you trust us. That know, like, and trust factor gets driven through the roof, the engagement level. Or if you're just listening to us, well, you might think my voice sounds a little too nasally, and you might say, delete this, block, report it, spam 1 star. But seeing us, you can say, well, I'll overlook his nasally voice.
Because he's so handsome.
He's got pearly whites and he combed his hair today.
That's so funny because when you listen to audio podcasts, do you kind of picture in your mind what this voice probably looks like? I wonder if people out there have pictured what I might look like or what you might look like, but never seen the video. We might disappoint them when they actually do see the video.
No.
But I totally do that. In the past, you hear a voice and your imagination just kind of puts a face to the voice, and sometimes you can just be so wrong about what the person looks like.
Oh, yeah.
So video builds that connection. It drives trust. And so that's a huge benefit of what you want to take advantage of.
Another way that video podcasting is great, and podcasting in general, is that it can really help you build relationships with people. Think about how, in this new consumer-driven society that we're in, where consumers are more informed than ever, consumers don't really like talking to salespeople. They don't want to call you or talk to you or even get in touch with you until they're ready to buy. They're going to make all their decisions that they can on their own. As much information that they can find on their own without you gating it, they want that. And so that can be a shift in the way people sell. But at the same time, it can also be an advantage because now if I have a video that tells all about my product or service, I no longer have to individually meet with each person to sell my product or service. I can make one video and I can let the world see it and let the world decide for themselves. And if people are choosing to do their own research before they decide if they're going to buy from you or not, they could potentially spend hours on listening to your podcasts or watching your video podcasts or reading your blogs on your website or watching your videos that you've put on your website and out in the world for people to see. And they're building a relationship with you. Maybe you don't know them yet, but they're getting to know you. And they could potentially be spending hours with you without you ever actually spending any time with them. And so it's a great tool for exponentially building relationships with people.
Yeah, that's great. Great point.
Yeah, that is good because all business is driven by relationships. No transaction happens unless you have a relationship with people, and relationships are the the key to long-term business relationships. So video podcasting, cha-ching, for the win.
Yeah, I mean, basically, you're just inviting your clients, your customers into the conversation, right? And so, you can't really have a direct conversation with everybody unless you're doing like a Facebook Live or something like that. But we've been able to like take people's feedback or questions and then answer that here. And basically, you can give people a sense of what it's like, who you are, tell your story. Tell the story of your clients. Tell the story of what's happening in your brand. You know,
and the great part about this is that it's scalable. So
right.
if you were going to call every single prospect or client on the phone and tell them the story and this great news, after about 700 times, you might, your voice might start to get hoarse, and you might get really sick of saying the same thing over and over again. With a video, you can deliver your best presentation, perfect your performance, get it all out there in a way that you feel comfortable and confident that you're saying what you want to say. You're telling your true story. And then it can be watched 10,000, 100,000, a million times, and you're always delivering that perfect performance. In case you didn't know how video works, it's scalable.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know about perfect performance. I mean, that kind of makes me, when you say the word perfect, I get a little anxious. Because, we know ourselves putting our podcasts out into the world for people to, judge that is far from perfect.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, sometimes not being perfect makes you more approachable and relatable, and
that's what I meant by.
I think it's interesting, because part of maybe some of the charm of podcasting, video podcasting, is it's this long format thing. It's meant to be more authentic. Like we do try to edit things so that it's enjoyable for the viewer and all those things. You don't have to listen to all of our flubs and mistakes, but knowing that we are human, that we aren't perfect, we're not. So sometimes I think it's enjoyable to see the fact that they kind of messed up here. Or there's a funny little thing that happened. Dave spilled his coffee again, or whatever it is. So those are like, we're just human beings. We're here having a conversation. We'll try to cut out the stuff that's annoying or, drones on and on. But
try and keep it interesting
try to
enough.
keep it interesting, yeah.
But you can
But
laugh
not
at us.
perfect.
We'll let you laugh at us.
Exactly.
Yeah, and by perfect, I didn't mean like flawless and some robotic, precise thing. Having mistakes in there is part of that perfection. There's really no such thing as 100% flawless, but being authentic, I think, is my kind of what I meant by perfection. And I think to those points is that the Zoom era of the pandemic has really cracked the shell of this need to be flawless and have zero mistakes. Now it's kind of like, okay, I showed up and maybe I, changed my clothes today. Maybe I didn't. It is what it is. and people are like, it's okay. Everybody, there's like more grace, I think, for less
Completely
than
agree.
professional video. Although, we have the master here, Dave, who is a video guru. So everything looks dialed in because he did the lighting, he did the equipment, everything, the sound. So if you like what you see, blame him. If you don't like what you see,
Blame him.
blame me. No.
Well, and I think that it's interesting too, as we were talking about this, like, because there's always things that you want to tweak and fix, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, we want to do this and do that, but get started with what you have. There's ways to get started with a video or audio podcast with pretty low investment, or hire somebody that does want to take care of those technical things for you, and
Or a combination.
Combination of that. Yeah, but don't wait until everything's perfect. Don't wait till you have exactly all the right equipment necessarily, and then but you'll progress from there.
Yeah, I think our tolerance is just at one time we might have watched somebody's homemade video and thought, what an amateur or something. But I mean, now, like you said, because of Zoom and the day and age we live in, there's more grace for that. And I think in general, we're just more accustomed to seeing people in their own home environment. And that's a great opportunity for people to take advantage of, get a little iPhone stand, set something up in your office or your bedroom, or, you could put a backdrop up. You don't have to. And just start talking about what you know about and get it out in the world and see what kind of feedback you get.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Thank you so much for joining us. This concludes part 1 of this episode. Be sure to join us next week as we wrap this up with part 2. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for spending time with us at Extremely Valid Points Podcast. To learn more about this episode, see our show notes at extremelyvalidpoints.com. Be sure and subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or Google Podcasts, or wherever you like to listen. Follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube and Instagram at EVP_podcast.
If you need help with your video for your business or nonprofit, connect with Dave at ellipsispro.co.
And if you need help with digital marketing, Nathan and Jenny can be found at worldlightmedia.com.
Or feel free to send us an email at questions@extremelyvalidpoints.com. Thanks again for joining us. See you next time.